Okay, Jessica, thank you so very much. I think it's about time we bring in the author of Let It Sink In and Tough Sell, Tom Basile. Welcome, Tom. So nice to see you here every single Friday.
It's a great way to end the week.
Yeah, it sure is. I'll have to agree with you there. Okay, so we are talking coronavirus bailouts. You just heard Jessica's story. What are your thoughts? Is this a good idea?
Well, look, Americans need to send a message very loud and clear to Washington because this is going to be the next big fight on Capitol Hill. No blank checks, no handouts for these blue states. And if there is going to be aid to these governments, that has to be accompanied by reform and by accountability. You have to have strings attached to this federal money. And what you're hearing out of states like New York and Illinois and California is they want unrestricted money. They want a handout that is going to be paid for by people in Texas and Kansas and Florida and North Carolina, and it's incredibly unfair. And in a piece that I had on Fox Business yesterday, I talked about those three states. You know, California is in violation of federal law. They're a sanctuary state. They spend billions of dollars a year on welfare programming that encourages illegal immigration in their state. Illinois' problem is they're $240 billion in the hole, and they refuse to reform their public pension system. The first lady's travel isn't that big a deal in comparison to that. They've raised taxes almost 20 times in the last 2 years, and they refuse to reform. In New York, Christina, everybody's talking about how great Andrew Cuomo is, but what Andrew Cuomo doesn't tell folks is that he's raised his state budget by $40 billion since he took office, and he's refused to reform Medicaid or education. Bill de Blasio has added 30,000 public employees to the public payroll, and he's increased the city budget by 30%. He wants between $7 and $10 billion. So this is an opportunity for Republicans in Congress, for any member of Congress to say, okay, look, if you're going to get additional money, there has to be strings attached. And there has to be an accountability regime. And maybe this is also an opportunity to force reform on these deep blue states that have been exposed for their financial mismanagement.
How do you propose that this will happen? So Nancy Pelosi is saying, I want $1 trillion, right? Which is a lot of money. Mitch McConnell,
Right.
President Donald Trump are saying, whoa, 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 we're going to put a pause on this. You have a great idea. That was a great article that you wrote. I read it. How do we get to where we're in the middle here, to where these solutions are being handled with the guidelines or the restrictions that you're suggesting be put on the money?
Well, first, there has to be agreement that there are going to be restrictions. Again, Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, they just want to give out money, which is liberal Democrats. This is what they do, and this is what these governors do. This is one of the reasons why they're in trouble. So there has to be at least agreement that there are restrictions, that this money has to go toward COVID-related expenses or preparing these states to help them with direct response or with pandemic planning or some other metric. But the other thing, Christina, is that this is something that people in other states really need to pay attention to, because when you look at states like North Carolina and Texas, there's a lesson here. And if you elect liberal Democrats and you change the political culture of your state, you're really only one generation away from becoming a New York or a California. So let's use this as an opportunity to actually ensure that we're making good fiscal decisions in the rest of America, and while these blue states have been exposed for their financial mismanagement.
Absolutely. Great advice there. And yes, it seems to be the blue states. And yes, we need to make great decisions when choosing our elected officials. Okay, thank you so much, Tom Basile. I hope you have a great weekend.